we learn of while we're probing in kind of our qualifying stage. We can ask indirect questions like, who's your best customers and why? Who's your best vendors and why? Who's your biggest competitors and why? We walk away with 9 names from that experience, and those are indirect sources. We can even ask, well, who do you know there? Do you have direct contact with those folks? And so that gives us indirect sources. Just a trick of the trade that not a lot of people do. In internal sources, now we are going to be spending some money in Google AdWords, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're going to have Twitter accounts. We're going to be we're going to have a web page where we're going to have some of our case reference material on there. Since most of us are going to have doctorate, or me specifically going to have a doctorate in this research, there will be publications that we'll be able to source too. And that's very important, because so many of the documents that and publishings that these other folks and these other training organizations have is not done through the scientific method. So that's going to be give us some credibility over our competitors there. And actually, it's going to be nice. It's kind of a loaded question. We ask, have you had lackluster results? How much did you pay? Who did you do that with? Really, wouldn't it be nice to have not had to pay all that money and still gotten the results that you wanted? Well, let's talk about the reasons why and why we're different. So that would be, again, some of the advantages that we have. But again, internal sources, like we mentioned above, are going to be pretty powerful. Trade associations. Now, trade associations, what's nice about that, it's easy to get published in those. It's easy to kind of be recognized as a new entrant. And by some way of the internet, Google and Yahoo and some of those big search engines being, if you happen to be in those trades, that just helps you come up a little more too, and gives you some referencing ability. Again, anytime you get published or talked about, you want to make sure that again gets referenced through your social media as well. The Twitter, the stuff like that, and it gets out there. And then you want to refresh it all the time too. You want to dig it up every couple of months. Maybe throw that same stuff out there if you don't have a lot of volume. That's one way to do it. Referral groups. So referral groups are great. These would be groups that share the same type of customer that we do. It's a game that we play that's called Who's Got My Customer. We start running in the same circles with people that want to sell to the same people that we want to sell to, but from different industries, so we don't compete. And we end up being a branding source for each other. We end up in a situation where I ask a client, are you going to be moving soon? Are we looking at more space? Are we trying to expand geographically? All of a sudden now I have really good leads for phone system vendors, office furniture people, copier people. All those folks, when you establish yourself with them, become very loyal. And in return, I get more from them too. And so don't underestimate the power of good referral groups. Prospect referrals. What's nice is that when we prospect, you simply ask an extra question. Well, since you're not interested, do you know who might be interested? Or, great, now that you're interested, who else do you know that might be interested in the same thing? And again, it comes back to those indirect sources sometimes as well. So, social media. We're going to be doing Google AdWords. We're going to be doing Twitter. We're going to be doing Facebook and LinkedIn. So, financials. We need $70,000 startup. Most of that capital can come from myself. It's not a lot of money to come up with. It's money that can be pulled out of stock, out of 401k. Actually, I don't even think we need to touch 401k. But basically, $70,000 is not a big deal for us, and that we wouldn't have to look to outside resources for it. If somebody wanted to invest in our company, that would create a type of synergy that we might not be able to create by ourselves. In other words, if 1 and 1 would equal 3, we might think about bringing on another consultant right away who wants to pitch in some money and be a principal right at the beginning. Now that would be very powerful to have more than one of us doing the same work, but again, 1 and 1 would have to equal 3. There'd have to be synergies there. But that is something that we're totally going to be open for, and possibly through this experience, find some of those folks that may be interested. With that $70,000 investment, $169,000 in revenue breaks us even. Now, $169,000 revenue is only 5 clients for the whole year, and that's not a lot. And we have some really interesting revenue models, one of which is licensing. We're going to be creating a lot of copyrighted material, and by the way, copywriting is very inexpensive. It's only about $35 a document. Most people don't know that. And I have quite a few copyrighted documents over years that I've created as I've done other sales training and created things on my own. I've recognized the value of that. Other companies that I've gone to work for, I've also started using it, and I thought I better protect that by namesake. And actually, I probably ought to go back and start charging some licensing, because I know some companies are still using that. But that would be one of our tactics, is that the licensing per every head that we sell and the material that we generate, especially our proposal writing stuff, would be $300 a head annually that we would be collecting. And over time, that adds up a lot. And that is where 1 and 1 equals 3, which is quite nice. In year 2, $403,000 in revenue. A lot of because of we're going to have the transaction time between sales picking up. We could almost get 1 a month in year 2. And our head licensing fees are picking up. And that does generate quite a bit of revenue for us. You can see that on the second year, that first year I would be able to make $135,000 in income off that $70,000 investment. And it breaks even at $169,000 first year revenues. Second year revenues is $403,000. So that second year revenue would generate $204,000 for me as a principal. Now you say, why are you talking importance? Well, in a self-proprietor type business, you can keep the money in the company, but really all the profits belong to me. And if I can generate $400,000 and take home $200,000 of it, that's a very good business, and that's something that I'd be interested in. It's definitely worth the $70,000 that I throw in right at the beginning. By year 3, $511K for third year. I would add a support staff in the third year, of employee worth about $40,000 a year. My volume is going to be picking up and increasing, and I would need some help there. Also, I have an accountant that I've used for 12 years, Hewlett Associates. We've got legal fees in there. We've got, like I said, the copyright fees of $35 a document that we would create. And so there are some fees that come out of that and still generate that kind of revenue. In year 4, we'd have $619,000. I'd bring on another consultant. I don't have to go out and go get into debt for that. I'd be able to bring that consultant in, pay him around $155,000, and then any commissions that he makes and brings in on top of that. So again, we're making fairly good money. $240,000 salary for myself at that point. Year 5, $861,000 in net sales. You should really start to. What's really neat is the hockey puck just starts going up on the licensing fees that come in, especially the 2 consultants bringing in business. That's where it really starts to hockey puck up. That's when I give myself another raise. I will be running around a $300,000 typical salary, and again, the consultants that bring that business with me are going to be making more as well. And you should see that those folks making up anywhere between $180,000 and $250,000. So our financials in our performance detail this quite well. Year 6, 72 months, we'll have done over $1 million in sales, and $300,000 is still a nice size salary to come home. And what we're going to be doing, as soon as we reach $1 million in sales, we'll have about $300,000 in net in free cash flow, basically. As soon as we get to $1 million in free cash flow, which would probably take another 2 years, we would then start ramping up quite a bit. and we can self-fund that, ramping up to where eventually we want to get to the $7 million in annual sales. What's nice is if we're under $7 million in annual sales, we're still considered a small business. There's still tax advantages for that small business. The industry says that the average business is about, in our industry, does $7 million. So that's not unrealistic. It's very conservative, and that would mean that we'd have approximately 18 consultants spread out more across the country. What's great is you don't have to really work in an office. Although we would have an office, we'd spend about $6,000 a month on office space, and still have Salt Lake City be a fairly large home base for us. So in other words, our recommendation is a go on this. We understand the industry quite well. We understand the revenue models. We understand our competition. We understand our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. And it's a very low barrier to entry, and the competition isn't well. There's no one that's really got the corner on the industry. 14,000 small businesses that do consulting and management programs like this, and there's room for one more that would be a new innovator, one more that would have science and research that backed up the methods that we teach. And so as I present this to you, I want you to know that I have extreme confidence in our ability to do this company and to do it right and to come out and win. So if you have any other questions, you can please contact me through email. You have my email, and I appreciate the time that you gave us to be able to present this to you, and thanks for listening.